G'day all, welcome back to the channel. We're back on the internet again, together again today. We've got a different one today. We've got a video of a young bloke. His channel is linked in the video description, so go and check it out and maybe give him a sub. He's only got about 400 subscribers. He's telling us why he's decided to pack up and leave Australia, and he makes a few pretty good points. Let's jump in.
So, number one, I just have to address the elephant in the room straight away, and that's the housing affordability, or rather unaffordability, because literally, it's tough out there. It's tough out there for a lot of people, and I know with some of my friends who are more settled down now, married, looking for a house even on dual income is super hard. It's super hard to qualify for a loan. And then when you qualify for the loan, you're pretty much stuck there for like 30 years. The housing market's just gone insane, especially in the area that I come from, which is the western area of Sydney. But yeah, the whole western area of Sydney has just been experiencing explosive amounts of growth.
That's a really interesting point he makes, because it's pick your poison. Like, I think overall, yes, it is better to own a property and pay a mortgage down if you can get in. But there are also a lot of benefits to renting as well. Like, you're not on the hook for all the maintenance costs and insurances and fluctuations in interest rates and all that sort of stuff. Some big ticket items do happen. You need to get the roofing replaced. You need to get the hot water system replaced, blows up, showers leaking, need to get a shower ripped out, cost you thousands. So the list does go on. So the landlord pays for that. You don't have to worry about it. On the other hand, your rent's always going up. Okay, eventually with a mortgage, probably to the 10 to 15 year mark, once you've, especially if you're not paying down extra, that's when it starts to turn and it starts to become more principal than interest, and you'll start seeing your payments go down, especially when you actually refinance. It won't happen automatically, but if you refinance, your payments will significantly go down and over time become much cheaper than renting. And you're going to own a house at the end of it. But the point he's making, yes, Sydney. Let's talk Sydney. Sydney housing, astronomical. And the thing is, it isn't at a peak or something like that. They're saying, it's a housing crisis. It's a housing new normal. And I've been reading a few articles today, actually, around the Sydney property market. So it's quite interesting that he has mentioned it, that it's all areas in Sydney are growing everywhere at the moment. And they believe it's going to be another rush. A lot of people are getting FOMO, got the interest rate decreases, which pushes it up. People say, how do people afford these $1.3 million house as a first home buyer? Great question. They've got to be doing it either with mum and dad's help, which is fine. That's almost the norm these days if you have that situation available to you, or you are not a first home buyer who's young. You're in your 30s, mid-30s, which is, I guess, young for some people, but you've had to work and save for 10 years to get a deposit together. So it is a basket case. It's going to get worse. Rates likely. Every time I say this on this channel, I'll get someone jumping on me. Rates are going to come down. You're going to get at least another couple of 25 basis point cuts between now and, say, March 2026. What do you think's going to happen then? Then you got the 5% deposit scheme. So only way is up. Only way is up.
And yeah, look, there's lots of discussions about immigration and a lot of people, particularly from India and China, moving in and buying up the houses. And obviously, high demand, low supply equals crazy housing prices. So
No, you're a racist, mate. You're a right-wing racist. You can't say that. Not wrong, though, but it doesn't matter what colour people's skin is. It's just a matter of people coming in. It doesn't matter where you're from. In direct relation and correlation to constraining the supply of property. More people are coming in every day than houses that can be built. Make it make sense. These migrants have to live somewhere. And you've got people who are existing citizens who are struggling to get a place, but you're bringing more in every single day, hundreds a day.
yeah, I remember the years growing up there. Houses, they were expensive, but they weren't anything near what they are now. And if you were lucky enough to buy 15, 20 years ago, then you made a lot of money. Okay, Sydney is one of the worst affected, but it's a nationwide sort of thing. Darwin and Perth would be the cheapest right now,
You
but
only make money if you got investment. The reality is, even if you bought 10 years ago, it wasn't even that cheap. It wasn't even cheap 10 years ago. I don't know, people say, oh, 10 years ago. No. Like, I bought a house 10 years ago, and I'm telling you, it was almost at Melbourne's. Like, I'm talking Melbourne here. It's not actually far off Melbourne's peak. Like, Melbourne hasn't done anything. Now, I know Sydney has skyrocketed since then, but Melbourne hasn't done anything. And it was tough then. Absolutely tough then. It was pumping. If anyone of you guys can remember 2015, 2016, maybe early 2017, property market in Victoria, absolute banana. It was just insanity. Double-digit growth. The thing is, if you buy and sell and it's your primary place of residence, you're pegged to the market. So yes, you might have a bit more equity, but still you got to pay that higher price for the house. So you end up with a similar quantum of debt, but maybe just for a bigger or better home. But the reality is, like, you haven't made the money. It just gets transferred into a larger asset. You're not walking away with profit to do whatever you may wish with, unless you really do downsize. But yeah, I get his point.
nonetheless, any of the major cities are experiencing massive growth year on year, particularly Sydney and Melbourne. But also, a lot of the
Melbourne's going backwards. Just FYI. And G-Man, CEO of Ray White or Century 21. No, it's true. Like, Melbourne has gone back. It's just starting to tick up the last 2 or 3 months or 4 months, and it's only minor. It's been bleeding out due to all the taxes and all that happens over here, which I think a lot of people may be cheering about. So I guess if you're an investment property owner, you're not happy about it. If you're looking to get into the market, it might have given you a little bit more time. But I do think in Melbourne as well, give it another 6 months. Pin this video if you want to make a bet or buy your slab. If you think the price won't be quite a bit higher than what it is from now, there's going to be a lot more demand coming in, especially once these interest rate cuts come in. Melbourne's being seen as value for people who want to live and have it as their primary place of residence. It's definitely not value if you're an investor, because you're going to get bent over. You're not even going to get coconut oil. As I say, you're going to get a handful of sand rubbed there. That's your lube. Crumb sausage.
Southerners are moving north to Brisbane because the prices are relatively more cheap for Sydney siders, and same with Perth as well. So you've got a lot of people from the eastern seaboard investing in Perth. So it's a bit of a calamity at the moment, and I just wanted to address that straight away because that's one of the biggest things happening in the West in general right now. Not just Australia, but Canada, UK, Australia, of course, New Zealand, USA in certain states. I know in other states it's still reasonable, but places like New York, California. So it's definitely a Western world thing. But I just wanted to get that out of the way because that was a big one. I was spending a lot of money on rent, just to be independent. I've got a lot of friends that want to be independent. They have this drive. They want to have their own place, but it costs so much. You're pretty much just stuck living with family for a while, and it's hard to kind of flex that independence. Even
I get it, but you got to play the long game. I think more and more people are being open to this idea, but European backgrounds generally, and Asians, anyone that's basically not an Aussie, traditional Aussie, I'll say, whatever that means. So you guys, you know what I mean. They will stay at home until marriage, or they've got a very serious, engaged or long-term, whatever, because they know the family, that's the way the family can help, by subsidising, I guess, their living expenses by not charging them rent, so they can save to get that home. That's how it's being done too. You got, two people, couples who are both living with their parents in their 35, making 150 grand each or more, or whatever it may be. I'm not saying it's that number, but these are the people buying $1.3 million first homes. Yeah, more and more people are doing. I think my advice to people like this, he looks maybe 25. You got your whole life ahead of you, even just a couple more years, sucking it up and putting your head down, having to live with your mum and dad. It can be life-changing benefits, compounding benefits on what you can actually save, because you're going out to rent and then trying to save up enough on top of all the cost of living increases to then buy in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, basically anywhere. Very tough. It's going to take you a long time. He's not wrong, but I actually encourage people to stay home. I know a lot of people, especially young blokes, they want to get out and they want to get, pick up chicks and all this sort of stuff. They want to have this bachelor pad and they think they're going to have all these chicks over every day, and they get out and they get no chicks. So they want to do this for should just stay at home. All right, let's move to the next one. COVID response.
On to the second reason that I left Australia, and that was just the crazy policies and the way the population reacted to the coronavirus. So yeah, it's pretty well known by now that Australia had some of the harshest laws when it came to COVID. Melbourne in particular had the longest lockdown in the world, the longest lockdown periods cumulatively, I think.
And you still got people saying and voting Labor after you've been locked down. Oh no, gee man, no! If they didn't do that, the whole country would have died from coronavirus. At the beginning of the pandemic, if that's what you want to call it, the COVID response might be the better term, as he used, in early 2020, I believe from memory. I was all in. I bought into the whole thing. I had the mask and going to the supermarket and staying away from people and thinking you're going to die. And as the weeks went on, it just seemed more and more ridiculous, the things they were bringing in, like cordoning off playgrounds. You can go outside for 1 hour. Like, I felt like it was a test. It was putting you in boiling water and see what people will put up with and not question at all. So I won't go on too much about that, but that definitely changed my worldview, and I think it changed a lot of people's worldview. And I don't think a lot of people will look at the world the same way. Some people just forget about it and go back to normal. I think there are many, many people out there who haven't forgotten, especially here in Victoria, and this is why you got these people marching for Australia and all that. It's not just about immigrants; it's about the whole joint. They're not happy with what's going on with leadership. They're not happy with the direction that the country's going. But anyway, I won't get onto that topic. I made a lot of videos, or 3 videos or something like that, about the March for Australia. I'm going to leave it. And I'll leave it up to you guys. Also, look at how the government responds to people protesting. Mostly peacefully protesting. They've latched on to the right-wingers, the nut jobs. We all knew they were going to be there. We all knew that was going to happen, and it's become all about them, and it was their march, and Australians were complicit in a racist, white supremacy march. So just look at how the media is really pushing that. It's to shut up, don't say anything, don't be critical of the government at all. You can't say anything. Apparently you have democracy, but you can't say anything. Otherwise you're going to be labelled a nutcase. You're going to have all the news propaganda machines, all the big outlets saying that it was all right-wing nutcases there, and all the they're going to wheel in all the immigrants who are scared and all this sort of stuff, when it had nothing to do with that. Anyway, I could go on for an hour about that. Let's keep going.
Yeah, it was brutal down there. Sydney wasn't much better. It was better than Melbourne. And we did have a premier who was against it and who wanted to open Sydney back up and get things kind of working again. But yeah, he was vastly outnumbered by the rest of the states. The federal government, they kind of stayed out of it. They left it to the states, and the states kind of left it to businesses. So these mandates flowed on. It absolved the government of responsibility, and the businesses were left with the task of checking the passports, checking everything was in order, and yeah, very polarizing time, to put it lightly. And personally, I felt, and I still feel, very strongly about this whole period in Australia's history. For me, it's a massive, massive blight on Australian history, and it just kind of, it changed the country forever in my eyes.
Spot on, man. I'm with you. And I think a lot of you people watching and listening to this young guy with wisdom beyond his years, he articulates it really well, are probably agreeing with it. But you can't say that. Don't say it, because everyone's going to call you a Fruit Loop because you didn't want to listen to Andrews and Sutton get up every day and tell you to get locked in the house. It's for your own good. Oh, just a few more days, guys. We're almost there. We've got to get it up to 95% vaccine take-up rate. It's not forced, though, but you're locked in the house till we're at 95%. And for those of you who don't do it, everybody, they're the ones you need to be looking and pointing fingers at if you want to get out of your house. That's exactly what they were doing. Then they also put it on businesses to turn the screws on people, because either get the jab and evidence it, or you're out of a job. My swipe card at my work was turned off. I get dead set. I couldn't even get in the building. Think about how crazy that sounds. Nuts.
Just never see
The thing is too, everyone eats it up and no one questions it. And the people that do, just like this, the people who turned out because they're not completely plugged into the mainstream media and what the government tells them for these marches, you're labelled a Fruit Loop. Classic. It's classic politics.
Same way again. Not only because the government was so strict and so stringent, it was the population who would be calling the police on people trying to exercise outside who were in a group of more than, 4 people.
Goes to show you about people dobbing each other in. Once again, nanny state. Good little boys and girls dobbing your neighbour for being outside after 8 o'clock. You couldn't go outside after 8 o'clock. I think it was 8 till 6 unless you're an essential worker or you have some sort of think about that. You're locked in your house. You can't even go outside of your house after 8 p.m. for having risk of a fine or someone dobbing you in for being non-compliant. Have a think about how that sounds, like complete dystopian stuff. People have just forgotten about that completely. That hurt a lot of people's mental health permanently and changed a lot of people's perceptions on the world permanently. That's why you got a rise of more people, I guess, that are called cookers, that have taken those views even to the more extreme level. It was a breeding ground for that sort of anti-government views, anti-trust. I don't know how you can trust. It's getting worse. It's getting worse, but everyone's a good little boy and girl. Go along with it. Don't like anybody. Hey, everyone, if they don't want to go about it, if they don't wear a mask somewhere, or if they go out of their house for 2 hours instead of 1, and they're more than 5 kilometres away, you can't be friends with them. It's on them, everybody. They're the reason why you're being kept inside, so they're the enemy. Think about that's literally what they were just about saying.
We're in like a group of 10. I distinctly remember exercising outside, and across from me were a group of 10 guys passing a football around, doing some pull-ups and stuff, keeping in shape, actually staying healthy. But yeah, there was a kid next to me who got on the phone, proactively phoned the police, and yeah, he kind of dobbed them in and said, these guys are in a big group breaking COVID regulations.
That kid needs the biggest wedgie of all time, and front wedgie. Just lifted off the ground like 4 feet off right up behind him, saying, dude, what are you doing, man? What are you doing?
And yeah, like I didn't say anything to him, but I went up to this group of guys, just told them what happened. But yeah, that story and many others reflect the state of society during that whole period. It was a very fearful, divided, polarized, and just sad place to be, really. One of the big problems with Australia is that people are very insulated. It's similar to America in that sense, where a lot of people only really know what's happening in Australia. Okay, maybe America as well, and maybe the UK. But yeah, only really know what's happening in the Anglosphere, let's say. They don't know what's going on outside of the world. So I remember when I left Australia, I always kind of knew I was going to leave, but this was the thing that really pushed me to get out of there. I
know quite a number of people who left the state, and at the time I thought that was a bit extreme, but looking back now, I think they made the right decision. People were flooding out of Victoria. They couldn't deal with Labor's overreach. So good on those people who took matters into their own hands to go and live in a different state where they're happier. There's one more thing I want to talk about. So he was talking about this occurrence where there was the group of people outside, and it was more than 2, maybe kind of a bubble buddy and a workout buddy and all that sort of stuff. I'd gone out for a walk along a beach path. I had to drive there from my home. It wasn't far. It was about 6 or 7 kilometres. And this was when they had the ring of steel and they were really enforcing it. And they also had the 5 kilometres, and they were really enforcing that. If you guys recall, they had police everywhere, remember, all over the roads stopping people because they wanted to scare people into submission, and I got pulled over. I just thought, I didn't even know. I felt like I was living on a different planet. Like I thought I was living in a dystopian future, like something out of Blade Runner, something like that. I'd literally gone for a walk. I was treated by the cop when he pulled me over into like a booze bus type situation. I was quizzed and I was treated like I drank 95 beers and I was behind the wheel. And he was just about to write me up and he goes, I'll let you off. Next time, don't go so far. And I said, hang on, I'm actually allowed to go because you're allowed to drive at that point in time out of that side of that 5 kilometre radius if it was for exercise. So get that up him. Also, a lot of cops left the job. A lot of cops left the job because they didn't want to be enforcing these rules. Some people, were critical thinkers. I thought, this is ridiculous. I've got to go and enforce this on people. Anyway, I'm going to move on from that. Otherwise, we'll be here for 4 hours.
I just want to mention the general nanny statism that's kind of crept in the past 20 or so years. Australia used to be kind of like a way more free country, way more rugged, I would say. And over the past 20 years, that it's just been on a massive, massive decline. And yeah, just kind of relating to the whole thing I talked about in regards to the government being very patronizing and, do as you're told, we know better than you. In general, it's just led to a nanny state where people are super reliant on the government for all aspects of life and the government telling them what to do. And personally for me, I don't like that and I never have. And they really just go overboard with so many policies, even if we go out of this whole COVID timeline. Like we're talking about Australia being the first country to make it mandatory to wear bicycle helmets, or New South Wales introducing the lockout laws after some, very tragic incidents where there were a lot of one-punch attacks and one guy died, which is obviously, very unfortunate, but the government just tends to overreact, and in doing so, they really did kind of kill an entire industry in a place called King's Cross. But yeah, this is just a kind of a general trend that...
For those of you who aren't from Australia, King's Cross is like the nightclub district in Sydney, sort of. It's the Wild West, really. A lot of red light kind of stuff, a lot of shady stuff goes on there, but you can also have a lot of good times there. And yeah, they more or less put curfews on the venues. I can't remember what the curfews were, but they were early. And so the joint would just be dead by about midnight. I think it was around there. I could be wrong. Correct me if you know the actual time. I haven't looked it up. I'm just going from memory here. And a lot of businesses went bust and people started avoiding it because the night's over before it gets started. Let's not talk about nanny statism. Let's talk about machete bins. So the machete bins came online on Monday. So everybody line up and bring in machete. We have the amnesty period. So bring your machetes in, everyone, and put them into your amnesty bins that are at the local police station. All you criminals out there, all you gang members who are hitting people with machetes, the government has said, just bring them in. We will turn a blind eye, apparently. Yeah, good on you. But if you're caught with a machete at all, even if you're not someone who has been convicted or has a history of crime, you're getting a $47,000 fine. $47,000. Or time in jail. I think it was a few years in jail. I hope you guys know that machetes aren't the only weapons that people can use on people. It's got to be a bigger correction than that. And not by banning stuff, cracking down, coming down on them like, USA police force. Just dropping people on their heads. Make sure they're not going to do it. They know that the cops come down, there's going to be a problem. None of this limp-wristed stuff. All right, let's go. Tax. Oh, we're talking tax. Love a good tax rant.
Over problem 3, and that's just the really high taxes. Yeah, now I understand the argument of taxes obviously benefiting society, and before COVID, I was actually fine paying tax, and I was fine having my business in Australia. I always thought, there was a bit of nanny statism and stuff like that, but when the whole COVID thing rolled around, I just saw my tax dollars pretty much getting burned, and yeah, look, that happens pretty much with every government. The inefficiencies in tax expenditure, COVID kind of really opened my eyes to that a bit more. And yeah, Australia has one of the highest individual tax burdens in the world. So for employees,
Especially if you're over the upper band. We have a tax, and it's basically a tax on people being ambitious and achieving. So over 190,000, which, yeah, it's good pay, but it isn't awesome money like it used to be. It sounds like a lot, rolls off the tongue all right. But maybe 20 years ago, that was big bucks. It's not really anymore. Like, a lot of white-collar people make that money. And blue-collared, for that matter. People who have got, trades or university educations. So you're taxed on 47 cents of every dollar you earn over that threshold. It almost makes it not worth it getting promoted and trying to earn more money. You're just going to pay more tax, and yes, your net income is going to be higher. I get it, but it's the amount of effort you have to put in these jobs. So you get these high earning jobs, which you're taxed out the arse on, but the stress and the pressure of those jobs doesn't go down. So you've got to deliver while the government takes most of your pay. 47%, what a joke. I know an accountant in America. I went over to Texas a few months ago and I was talking to him, and I said it was 47%. He almost fell off his chair. I was having a drink with him. He goes, "What? You just get out of there." That's a lunacy. Lunacy. Don't get me started on all the small business tax, land tax, tax on cigarettes. I made a video about that yesterday, which is fueling a burgeoning and blooming black market over here. Tax excise on everything. Levies on everything. They talk about people getting taxed on their cigarettes. So it's about 70% approximately of the cost of one cigarette is taxation. So if you're a smoker, that's where your money's going. And that's why a lot of them are like, stuff you, I'm going to go down to local Chinese or Indian shop or whatever it may be, Middle Eastern shop, and buy them for $10 a pack. That's just extortionate. Then they say, well, that's because we want to offset your likelihood of being a higher health risk due to smoking for a long period of time in your older age. That's why you're being taxed to fund that. So why do we have a Medicare? So we've got a Medicare levy, and you've got a Medicare levy surcharge. So what's going on here? Plus, you got this cigarette and alcohol tax, and they're going to bring in sugar taxes. I'm sure I've talked about that. I'd love to see if they did a proper analysis from the time you generate $1 until the time you have spent that $1. How much tax, double tax, triple tax, double handling, how much tax would apply to that $1 on an average type of life cycle of that dollar from when you get paid from it to when it ends up somewhere else? So you got income tax, you're going to pay all the levies, etc., depending on what you buy. The list goes on. That's why I get annoyed, because the appetite for tax is just more and more. Because that's the only way the government obviously generates most of their revenue. It's from taxing people, taxing the punters, the ones who can't fight back. You can't do anything about it. Large businesses just lobby and say, you know what, well, BHP will say get stuff then, or Rio Tinto, we're going to take all our operations or whatever offshore. We'll make sure we pay no tax, or we'll take 100,000 jobs and make all these people redundant. Like, oh, no, okay. But for Joe Blow with his, small landscaping business who's got 4 employees, and you might have a factory that you put all your stuff in, you're paying land tax out the arse on that. Payroll tax to pay people. Then they pay income tax on the tax that's already been, the money that's already been taxed for payroll purposes. Get stuffed. It's just incredible. The more you think about it. I know I'm ranting. I love a good tax rant. I'm going to leave it there, guys. I think we've ranted on enough. Go and watch this young guy. I thought it was a good video. He's definitely got his eyes open, which is good, and it will put him in good stead for his life to look at the world with a bit more of a critical lens. So his channel is linked in the video description. So go and click on the video, and then you can get his channel called Spare Naught. He's only small. He's at 425 subscribers. Let's get him up to 600 if some of you guys want to go over there and just give him something to be happy about that his channel's grown overnight. All right, thanks all. See you in the next one.